Hello again, this is Ron with Stay Sharp. If you followed my channel at all, and certainly if you're a Cutthroat Broadhead shooter, you're going to say, didn't you already put out a broadhead sharpening video about cutthroats? Yes, I did. And this is the version 2, the improved version. Daily, and I'm not kidding here, daily, I get calls, I get emails, I get messages on social media from cutthroat users. It's a very popular head, and it's a head that I've had a lot of success with. Being that it's now November of 2021, a lot of guys have taken animals with cutthroats, and to be expected, they're all getting pass-throughs. That's one of the great features of a single bevel and a head with a long aspect ratio like cutthroats. And when paired with a heavy arrow, yes, you get pass-throughs. Cutthroats are great steel, they're a great design, and they perform well. Because you get a pass-through, and the earth hates single bevels, you get edge deformation like you see here. This is a pass-through shot that I had on a hog, and as you can see, the earth hates single bevels. Now, I get a lot of calls from people, I get a lot of emails, messages on social media from the people who shoot these heads and say, is this head toast? Can it be saved? How do I fix this? For as much as I love cutthroats and for as great a design they are, the one downfall that they have is a low bevel angle. And in the description, I'm going to link a video that talks about single bevels and edge strength. Low angle single bevels will rotate more than high angles, but I've proven it myself, even high angles rotate more than enough to split bone. You will find single bevels that range anywhere from 20 to 40 degrees. The lower angle ones just do not have edge survivability. Cutthroats are at 25 degrees, as you can see. This performed well on the animal, but the earth gobbled it up, destroyed that edge. So in the video that I just mentioned, I talked about putting a duplex grind on a single bevel for a couple of reasons. And it's particularly important on a cutthroat head because of this pocket that you see right here. That machined pocket makes the broadhead very thin in this region. And if you sharpen too much along this edge and sharpen it too often, you can break through. And I'm going to inset some pictures from a customer who sharpened his so much that he ended up breaking through to this pocket. The head becomes junk at that point. So with cutthroats, you want to avoid breaking through. You want to have a stronger, more survivable edge. So I am advocating for a duplex grind. So this retains much of the factory 25 degree bevel, but it puts on a secondary grind, and I'm going to show some pictures of the guide, our fixed blade guide that's used to sharpen single bevels. It's called the Fixed Blade Guide for Single and Double Bevels. And this is that guide, the Fixed Blade Guide for Single and Double Bevels. It's got this angular cut on it. This one doesn't have the screw in it yet. At any rate, when the guide is positioned properly with the blade, you will achieve an angle very close to the cutthroat bevel. And that's what I'm going to show in this picture. What I am advocating for to get this duplex grind is to wrap the roller with tape. And in this case, I did 35 inches of tape. Here's the roller without the tape. Here it is with 35 inches of tape. So this gets you 24 to 25 degrees, depending on how deep you stick the blade in and out. This gets you to around 30, and all of my tests have shown me that 30 degrees is, in my opinion, the bare minimum. There are certain makers that will do 20 degrees. Cutthroats do 25. I find that at 30 degrees, you have a more survivable edge. Iron Will does 32, VPA does 35, Alien and some others do 40. Those edges still rotate and break bone, which is the hallmark of a single bevel. Breaking bone, splitting bone, so you don't get arrow pinch. But once you get to 30 degrees, you have a edge that gets less of this damage. So I love cutthroats. I love everything about them. Their steel is fantastic. Their shape is fantastic. The only place I think that they're lacking is edge survivability, and that is because of this low angle. And so I'm going to talk about putting this duplex grind on there and wrapping the roller with tape. So as described earlier, the fixed blade guide without tape on the roller, the fixed blade guide with tape. Use white or cream colored freezer tape. Use blue painter's tape. I would not use electrical tape. It doesn't stick. It's a little bit thick. It's also not wide enough for your needs. Certainly don't use duct tape. It leaves a residue on the roller. You'll only tape one roller because you're doing a single bevel, but 35 inches of tape will produce the duplex grind that I talked about. So let's look at positioning the cutthroat head in the fixed blade guide. What do we care about? We care that when you lay it on the roller after you've put the tape on it, the entire cutting edge hits, and you can see that shadow. It's not in there crooked, right, with the tail hitting first or with the tip hitting first. Look at that shadow. When I lay it on the roller and I tip it down, the entire length of the edge all hits at the same time. Now, don't worry that your machined ferrule doesn't match the angular cut. This is a 250 grain head. The 200 is sloped less, all the way down to the 125s, the 150s. They all have a different slope. Don't worry about the jaw edge. So don't worry about the ferrule against the jaw. Worry about the blade edge on your diamond plate. And yes, you want diamond plates for a cutthroat. They're that hard. You can use sandpaper, but you're going to burn through a ton of it. You want that edge to be laying on your diamond plate without any gaps. If this edge were up in the air and only this were touching, bring the thread end out until it hits. If it's the other edge that's not hitting, bring that edge out. But it's a rocking motion. You will, based on Sharpie marker wear, you will put the head in so that you have 100% contact. That's what's matter. When you tip it down, the only thing that matters is, do you get full contact along the entire edge? That's a common question that I get as well. So that's what it looks like. Do not over tighten the screw. It's tight already for a reason. There is no reason to really tighten this screw up much. If you are pushing down really hard when you sharpen, the blade will shift. That's the quickest way to wreck your diamond plates, by pushing down hard. The weight of your hand is almost too much weight. It means more strokes, it means more time, but you will get a keener edge and your diamond plates will last longer if you don't push down hard. Pushing down hard is a disaster and it's a mistake. You won't get the nice burr that you need. The next most common question I get from the cutthroat guys are, right after they've shot a deer and they've dulled the head, how long should it take to get my head razor sharp again? And the answer is, the unit of measure is not number of strokes or time. It is, did you get a burr? And we're going to test for the burr with a very narrow piece of Post-it note, not more than 3/8 of an inch wide. But they all say, well, we watched your video and it looked like you had it done really fast. I've been going on it for a half hour. I still don't have a burr. Well, by increasing the angle with tape on the roller, you will get a burr much faster. And in all the other videos, in an effort to save time, I abbreviated the video. I cut it short so you aren't sitting here watching me the entire length of time. But in this case, I'm going to show you the first burr, and the very most important burr is the first one at 240 grit. So here is an edge that was absolutely destroyed on a pass-through, and I will not edit it out this time, so let's go. Light pressure. Remember, we're not putting down heavy pressure. I've got a finger on this side, a finger on this side, and a finger down. I'm not putting down any pressure. Now this edge was destroyed, so it's going to take a few strokes. Now I've trapped my diamond plate between stacks of tape. I've got about 8 height of tape on each side so the diamond plate won't move. Otherwise you're going to hold it down with your finger and that just puts your finger in the way. This is a factory second plate. When I get these shipments of plates, a lot of times we'll get some blemishes. I just use those for myself. They're good enough. Again, I'm not putting down much weight. My hand is only steering as I go back and forth so I don't drive off the plate. Now, to increase the life of your plate, you want to drift. You want to go from this edge over to this edge and this edge. So while you're rolling, don't just roll down the center. Drift close to you. Drift far away from you. You can also increase the life of your plates. Rotate them. So again, I am not editing away any of this video. I just wanted to show you the first burr. If you get the burr at 240, the bulk of your work is done. That's where all of the effort should be spent. And I got guys telling me I went through all the plates, 240, 400, 800, 1200, 2500, and I still haven't got a burr. And I say, why would you switch to any finer grit if you haven't got a burr at 240? Don't flip over the guide. Don't switch to another grit until you have achieved a burr that you can detect with the Post-it note at 240 grit. That is primary. That is the absolute goal. So I've been going on it for a little over a minute now, maybe 2 minutes. So let's just look at what we've got here in 2 minutes. So remember, we're putting a secondary bevel on it. We're not matching the factory bevel, we're putting a secondary bevel on it. Now that edge is pretty chewed up, right? Yours may look like that as well. So in this case, I'm going to find a burr, but it's going to be partially because of what I'm grinding away and partially because of the rolled edge. But use a Post-it note. It should cause it to bend and flex. It should hook on that. It should stop. Then you know you've got a burr. How do you break the burr off? Well, there's a lot of ways to support the plate, but I will bring the plate out to the edge of whatever I'm on, and then I'll hoist it up just so I get a little bit of extra clearance. Now I'm about a hand's width up. I will lay the blade on the plate pinch it, so I've trapped it flat, so I'm going to tip it flat, and I'm going to give it a couple of strokes. Don't make the mistake of putting a micro bevel on the back or flat side of a single bevel. Now in this case, this is a very dull head because it passed through, and this is going to be representative or typical for a guy who's killed an animal. Lay it flat, get rid of that burr. Now this is going to mean you're going to take off whatever coating that they've got on there. That's fine. That's to be expected as well. Now, make sure we get 100% burr removal. We want to leave no burr behind. Any burr left behind will mimic dullness. Alright, now I'm going to take that out from underneath there, and I'm going to go back to sharpening, because again, I'm trying to really repair a torn up edge. When you have broken off the burr, some of it gets pushed back to the bevel side. That's normal. The first roll will sound a little bit crunchy, a little higher pitch. That's because you're then breaking off the burr on the bevel side. Not a problem. We're going to keep going until we've removed all of that destroyed edge, all of that rolled and chipped away and failed and yielded edge from that lower 25-degree bevel. And again, this will put on close to about a 30-degree bevel, which for me is the starting point of a nice, strong edge on a single bevel. I don't care for anything lower than 30 degrees. And this would work if you're doing grizzly stick samurais or any of the other single bevels that are below 30 degrees. The same guide works. Put the tape on it. You get to increase the bevel. You'll get a burr quicker, and you will have a more survivable edge. So now let's inspect that. We're getting rid of a lot of that rolled, choppy edge, but I can still see that it's present. So I'm going to keep going. When the guys call me on the phone, the answer is always keep going. Until you get a burr, until you've cleaned up what you've destroyed when you pass through and hit the earth. You can get some edge rolling on a hard bone hit, but typically it's a pass through and you've hit the dirt, and that's what will destroy the edge. Again, I'm not pushing down hard. I'm just steering the guide so I can move it from the far side of the plate to the near side of the plate. I am not pushing down with a lot of force. That will be the end of a diamond plate if you push down with a lot of force. So again, we're putting a duplex grind on there. I can still see some of that chewed up edge. Now I'm going to look at getting rid of the burr. Again, I've got a burr on here partially because of the chewed up edge and partially because I'm sharpening. Pinch it flat, so tip it, pinch it flat, and just give it a few strokes. You can flip it around. Again, tip it, pinch it flat. You can actually even use the short edge. You don't need a very long stroke, right? My goal is to flatten out the backside. If you've ever looked at a woodworker's chisel, they are sharpened at a bevel only on one side. The other side is perfectly flat. That's what you're trying to achieve with a single bevel. Do not put a micro bevel on the back side of a single bevel. We're getting a much cleaner edge now that we've done that. This is what the back side looks like. We've still got some to remove, so we're going to go back. Again, all of your work, the bulk of your work is going to be done at 240 because that's what creates the new edge that you're trying to achieve. So we've been going at it for about 5 minutes. I got guys calling me saying, man, I've been at it for an hour and I don't have a burr. Well, partially I think it's because they can't detect the burr. Maybe they're not using paper, or they're using an entire sheet of a Post-it note and trying to feel for the burr along the entire edge. That's a mistake. You want to use a narrow piece and feel, yep, I've got a burr. Oh, I've got no burr here. Well, if you've got no burr here, but you've got a burr here, keep going. You need a burr along the entire edge. So a narrow piece of Post-it note is what you want. But if you're not getting a burr at 240, you're sure as heck not going to get it at 400 and 800. Those are lesser grits. They're doing less work. 240 is where it's at. And we do offer a 3-plate and a 4-plate option. If you buy 3 of our plates and you're doing cutthroats, I tell everybody, get 3 of the 240. That's where all the work happens. Once you've achieved a full cleaned up edge and repaired it after a pass-through, the finer grits, you can do it with wet dry sandpaper. You're still going to use a lot of wet dry sandpaper, but 240 is the workhorse. The other question I get is, my plates get gunked up and dirty. See all the stuff on here? Tip it over, all that stuff comes off, right? You can blow them off with compressed air. Use an old toothbrush, or if your wife's not home, just grab hers. Sweep it off with compressed air or a toothbrush, then blow it with compressed air, tap it. Don't try to wash the plates. Don't introduce water. This is an iron or steel head. The plate won't rust. What will rust is the metal that gets trapped in the diamonds. So the next time you'll come back and your plate will be all rusty. Well, diamonds don't rust, but the metal that comes off of this that you just saw on my finger, that's what will rust. So a toothbrush, compressed air, tip it upside down and tap it. You can get small wire brushes too that are made out of stainless steel or brass. Those work as well. So let's look at this edge again. Again, we're creating a duplex bevel. We're not sharpening at the factory grind, so we're going to get a burr quicker. We don't risk breaking through that pocket. If you keep sharpening at the factory bevel, you will eventually break through the pocket. I had a fella contact me last week. He broke through. I got an email from Cutthroat themselves saying that they've had a few people who have sharpened their heads right through the vent. So you want to avoid that. Avoiding that breakthrough, breakout in the vent, and having a stronger bevel, it's a win-win. So add the tape to the roller to pull that off. All right, so now we've gone on this side more. We're going to move the plate to the edge. We're going to lift it up, support it a little bit, so we can break that burr off. Again, we want to trap it between the plate and our finger. So we're going to tip it down, give it a couple strokes, making sure we're cleaning up that entire flat side. Tip it until you know it's flat. Give it a few strokes. Don't have to push down hard. It sounds like it's I'm pushing down hard because it's noisy. It's just being unsupported here. So a couple of strokes. You'll see we're getting cleanup on the back side. The front edge is looking far better now. We've got nearly all of that chatter from the pass-through gone. We're going to go back to the bevel side. So the burr is like a paper clip. You can bend a paper clip only so many times before it breaks. So we're creating the burr, we're grinding it off. Some of it gets bent back toward the bevel. We'll grind that off. We'll chase it off on the flat side. Eventually the burr will be gone at 240 grit. When the burr is gone at 240 grit, that's your signal to go to 400 grit. And we're pretty close to that right now. We've chased away almost all of that damage that the earth did from the pass-through. We broke off the burr. Now we're going to go back and create some more burr to make sure we got rid of all of the damage. We want none of that damage left. Alright, let's test for the burr now. Very narrow piece of Post-it note. See how the paper flexes? I'm running into the burr. And I'm running into it along the entire length. It's catching. If there was any spot that I did not catch on the burr, that means I have to keep going along the entire edge. So I've got a burr. I'm going to support the plate again. Hang it off the edge. Pinch it. Give it a few strokes. Everybody thinks it's a single bevel, you're only sharpening one side. That is not the case. You own both sides. So when I do 240 on the bevel, I'm going to do 240 on the flat. 400 bevel, 400 flat. All the way up to 2500 grit. When I sharpen the bevel, I'm going to also sharpen the backside with 2500 grit. When I buff the bevel, I'm going to buff the flat side just like I'm doing here. So again, we're going to look at this. We're going to test to make sure we got rid of all of the burr. Slides right off, nothing for it to catch on. That's my signal that I have now cleaned up that edge. I've chased some of the burr to this side and you can see it. It looks jaggedy. That's the burr that I've pushed to this side. But now I am done at 240 grit. Minutes, but we had a lot of damage to repair. So now that I've done 240 grit, the same is true with 400 grit. Start on the bevel side. Now 400 is a lot less coarse. So it took us about 10 minutes to clean up the damage and create the burr that says we've reached the other side. And as I've said, it should take less time to achieve a burr at 400. So if we did 10 minutes at 240 to remove that choppy, destroyed edge, let's see how long it takes us to get a burr at 400. Again, travel over all of the plate. Go near you, travel far away. You can even do it on an angle. Switch it this way. Do it on an angle. Again, rotate your plate around. Cover every inch of the plate. I'm not pushing down hard. My hand is only steering so I don't drive off the plate. So we got a minute into it now. That's what the edge looks like at 400. It's worth testing to see if we've done it. Yes, 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 yes. It's catching. So, just a couple of minutes at 400. Now, the same is true. We want to break the 400 grit burr off. We'll support it. Pinch it flat. Any remnant of the burr left, especially at the higher grits, will mimic dullness. Make sure you get rid of the burr. So there'll be no burr left. We've got a 400 grit finish on this side. You're going to see some of that burr, see that white line, was pushed back to this side. Before we switch to 800, I'm going to give it a couple strokes just to get rid of that burr. That's our signal to then switch to 800 grit. And now I'm going to fast forward, because you saw the process at 240 and 400. 400 just took a couple minutes. 8, 12, and 25 are going to be just the same. So I'm going to fast forward through 8, and I'm going to come back when I get to 12 and 2500. All right, I am back. I just completed 1200 grit. I spent 2 minutes at 800 grit, 2 minutes at 1200 grit. Now I'm going to 2500 grit. The burr at 2500 is going to be hard to detect. You might be able to feel it with a fingerprint. After you've done this for a while, you'll develop that skill set where you'll be able to feel it. But certainly the post-it note is the key. A very narrow strip of post-it note will be able to pick up a burr even if you can't feel it with your fingerprint or your fingernail. So the higher grits take far less time. If we spent 10 or 12 minutes at 240 grit, you know, we're spending 2 minutes at each of the other grits. So this will be our final grit, 240. Again, light pressure. Do not use heavy pressure. You get a rolled over burr that instead of one that stands tall and proud, and it's harder to detect that, and you just wear your die-in plates out quicker. Alright, so we've been going for a minute at 240. Now let's test. I'm sorry, we've been going about a minute at 2500. See how it catches? You will want paper to detect that. Trying to detect a 2500 grit burr with your finger is going to be tough. So again, I'm going to lift up what I've been sharpening on, suspend the plate over the edge, trap it flat. So every burr that I created at each grit gets knocked off with that same grit, so we are sharpening the back side all the way up to 2500 grit. So even though it's a single bevel, you are sharpening both sides. In this case, we're breaking off the burr. Now, this is a trick that I've learned. After you've broken off the burr at 2500 grit, go back, give it a few strokes, because remember, we're chasing that burr around, we're bending it back and forth until it breaks. So I'm going to do a few strokes at 2500 grit. I'm going to push some of that burr back. I'm going to come back here and support it. I'm going to make sure I've broken it off. Any remnants of the burr will mimic dullness. And what I'm showing you here is not unique to Cutthroat. Samurai, any of the other single bevels that you like, increasing this angle will get you sharper faster, have a more durable edge, and the burr breaking is the same. Now that we've broken that burr off, we're going to give it just 1, 2. We're going to support it again. Make sure that burr is broken off. Any remnant of the burr will mimic dullness. So here's what the back looks like. It's getting pretty darn polished up, right? 2500 grit, that's a great finish. Right now I can already tell it bites into my thumbnail, it doesn't skip. I already know this is going to be a very sharp edge. The final step is always buffing compound. I'm going to flip it over because of the bumps created by the tape. With buffing compound, it's always a draw back, a pull back motion. Explore all of the plate and fresh buffing compound. Only a backward stroke. I lift and I drop. I lift and I drop, pulling back. And you cannot overdo buffing. You can do that all you want. You're not really removing that much material, but it's like working with modeling clay. If you looked at it under the microscope, you'd see how you're rounding and smoothing any scratches that were in there, and that sawtooth edge of the burr breaking off becomes polished. You're creating a scalpel. So you're creating a real nice mirrored finish on there. Now you have created a burr, so let's again support the end. We're going to bring the paper right to the edge of my tablet, but this can be a piece of mirror, plexiglass, window glass. I'm going to again trap it. So we are still buffing the back side of the blade. Every grit that you do the bevel with, you're going to do the back side with. You own two edges on a single bevel. Doesn't matter if it's cutthroat or not. They're all the same. Now that we've gotten rid of that burr, we'll go back and do some more. Now, let's support the end again. Let's go on a new part here with some fresh buffing compound. Trap it flat. Give it a pull. The burr that buffing compound creates is so small, I doubt you'd be able to feel it with even a fresh piece of Post-it note. So, buff to your heart's content, then buff off any burr. You are getting a really nice finish on there. Then again, give it 2 strokes, support it again, give it a couple of strokes. Any remnant of the burr will mimic dullness. So this is what I got, some residual buffing compound right there. This is what our edge is looking like. So now that we've got the head sharp, again, I didn't over tighten the screw. You don't need to really tighten that screw a lot. So let's move this out of the way so I can keep my fingers out of the way here so you can see the edge. I'll screw it onto an arrow shaft. We'll wipe it clean. And then you will be able to see what we've done here. Let's put it in the spinner. Let's get down right on it. And really take a good look at that edge. Put this buffing compound card behind it. So I've chased away all of that damage from both edges, and now this head is ready to go back into the quiver. I've got a duplex grind on here. I don't worry about busting through and hitting that vent. And I've got an incredibly sharp head that was once destroyed and now looks like new. Alright, so now it's time to do a quantifiable check of what did we actually produce. So here are our duplex bevels that we just ground. We're going to use a certified sharpness tester to see what we end up with. Many guys that do these videos push down too fast. That's a mistake. 111. So I'm going to inset a chart here showing you what 111 means as compared to a razor blade. And I've tested a lot of razor blades with this machine. In fact, I'm going to show you a razor blade score right now. So there you have it. I've taken a totally destroyed cutthroat. I've put a duplex bevel on it at about 30 degrees with 35 inches of tape on the Stay Sharp fixed blade guide that really boosted the angle, but a 30-degree angle can be incredibly sharp. As we just showed, it's actually sharper than a razor blade. This is a very lethal head right now that can be returned to service, and because of that steeper bevel, will be more survivable the next time you pass through. Thanks for watching.